Okay, so first and foremost, being the second affirmative speaker, I would like to reiterate some of the points that were made by my partner, the first affirmative speaker, before I will then continue to address the points made by the first negative speaker, and then produce my own points. So, first and foremost, in case it was not yet explicitly stated, we are talking exclusively about UCAVs, unmanned combat aerial vehicles. We are not discussing any drones used for the purposes of reconnaissance or intelligence. Those are a separate issue. We are simply talking about combat aerial vehicles that are unmanned. Now, some of the points made by Chris are perfectly valid. I will concede that it is indeed a slippery slope fallacy to assume that the production of drones will produce an arms race. There has always been an arms race since the beginning of human history. Ever since European plate could not be pierced by Saracen arrows, there has been a great disparity between arms, and there has been a great desire to catch up to that point. So it is that fact that has been adequately contested. However, the governments themselves not communicating with each other is also irrelevant. This is why we have spy networks. This is why we have intelligence systems. Governments are by no means obligated, nor have they been in favor of cooperating. Only in the rarest of circumstances, like following the September 11th attacks, was there any degree of communication between the United States and some members of the European Union. However, it is the lack of the American government's communication with some people that is causing a great deal of problems. When we cannot trust our president or our own government about the people abroad that we are murdering, there is becoming a great disparity and a great level of suspicion with the United States government. A staffer from the White House has leaked a document describing how the casualty reports are tallied after each drone strike, and every adult age individual with or without a firearm is considered a combatant. So these alleged low casualty reports are actually much higher after you factor in realistic non-combatant casualties. Anyone, a 17-year-old girl, even if they can be distinguished as being a 17-year-old girl, as the burqa can admittedly be seen from 20,000 feet in the air, in the after-action report, would still be seen as a combatant for the records. Another after-action report taken from Operation Haymaker, which was released a bit later by the United States government, states that between January 2012 and January 2013, U.S. Special Operation airstrikes killed more than 200 individuals. Of those, only 35 were the intended targets. During one 5-month period of the operation, according to the documents, nearly 90% of the people killed in the airstrikes were not the intended targets. This is a reprehensible amount of civilian casualties. Sometimes, there were even no combatants killed. There was a wedding in Yemen in which 14 individuals were killed, the entire wedding party. None of them were combatants, none of them were even affiliated with Al-Qaeda or any terrorist organizations. They were simply trying to have a good day before hell rained on them in the sky. We also have boys fearing the sky, as I do believe was mentioned by my partner. Mohammed Toyeman, who was interviewed by The Guardian journalist website, has described that a clear sky is a mark of death. It is no longer bringing joy. One time he returned home to see his entire family on fire, deceased. He says, and I quote, "I saw all the bodies completely burned like charcoal. When we arrived, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't move the bodies, so we just buried them there near the car." We are making children fear the sky. We are destroying lives and happiness, all in the name of efficient warfare. And these drone strikes are helping to legitimize not necessarily terrorism, but militant groups like Al-Qaeda, and to some extent ISIL. According to Lisa Church, a journalist with the Huffington Post, drones amplify the voices of militant extremists who condemn foreign invasion and demand local control over their region. Drones bring legitimacy, credibility, and sway public opinion towards the militants' arguments. These are valid claims that the militants are making objectively. that they do not want encroachment on their land, and they want control over their own lives. So through the foot in the door phenomenon, once these civilians have found themselves aligning with the militants as a repulsion reaction to the drone strikes, they'll be infinitely more likely to then follow down that slope to terrorism. So while there's no exact equation for drone strike equals terrorism, it is certainly destroying the culture and our public perception. Robert Grenier, the CIA Pakistan station chief, has himself said that the drone program needs to be targeted much more finely, and that we have been seduced by the cheaper costs, lower cost of American lives, and supposed efficiency in combat, that we have not yet considered the unintended consequences of this new pattern of warfare. Unilateral, also from Lisa Church, unilateral use of drone strikes is beginning to cripple foreign sovereignty, and this is further harming our public perception in foreign relations, as we are increasingly seen as the big brother strong-arming all the smaller nations of the world to do as we please. As we do not necessarily have formal consent, so drone strikes are also crippling our respect as a nation, and this harms foreign relations with the people and the governments in general.
I think it has 4 minutes of prep time left.